Hey, monkey boy. This time I can prove the Israelites weren't black using ChatGPT. Ha!
So that's what we're doing now? Using AI?
What was that? I couldn't hear you over that smoke alarm chirp you people can't hear. Say that again?
Hilarious and original.
Hilarious and original. Hilarious and original. Hilarious and original.
I said, is that what we're doing now? Using AI to prove who the Israelites are?
That's exactly what we're doing, and I'll show you, boy.
Oh, brother.
2 hours later.
Your room still stinks.
Look at how easily ChatGPT debunks everything you chimps have to say. Ha! You was not kings, and you was not Israelites.
If we're going to use AI, then let's at least use an AI that's trained on the Bible without the Masoretic mistranslations or any agendas and actually tells us the truth.
Liar, there's no such thing.
I'll show you. Let's use Israelite Bot. Go to IsraeliteBot.com and ask the same thing.
Fine, but I bet it'll say the same thing as ChatGPT. No! No!
You see? I told you.
No!
And it shows biblical proof.
No! This is preposterous. I hate this website. It's all wrong.
Stop crying.
Your website sucks.
The Rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS explores the relationships that are affecting the global economy right now. This book explores the relationships of the African diaspora's influence on the African continent and why this is important in stabilizing relationships with an understanding of how BRICS impacts the future, good or bad. You can order your copy of The Rise of Africa today on Amazon.com.
Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. The reason that I can say that is you have a couple of different factors occurring right now as we speak on the world stage. The dollar is being disrupted. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. But the third factor that affects each and every one of us is that there is a diaspora from the African continent that's willing and able to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent.
Shalom, Salama, Siemi, Shalom. Greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world, whether you're of the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or you're a Gentile grafted into the house under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. I welcome you all this morning. This was interesting. I was running so much from sun up to sundown. I got up yesterday morning. It was about 4:30. I got up. I didn't get to bed until about, it was about 10 o'clock. And, you know, I just had information kind of just bombarding me. And it was funny because I woke up and I said, oh man, I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to work on this. I have to work on that. And now today it's going to be pretty much the same. But it's funny how the Most High kind of moves on some things. Because I get home and I'm getting things together for my class or for my committee, my chair. And I don't know what I did, but my dissertation was jacked up. My presentation was jacked up. And for me to do presentations literally every single day, just about, to put on webinars and town halls and other things, I looked and I'm like, oh, this is horrible. This is I made the corrections last night, but you know, it is one of those things that when you stare at something long enough, you just kind of accept it. You don't even realize just how bad and janky it is until it's read aloud. And it's like, oh, I got to change the research paper. I got to change, well, the dissertation. I had to change the presentation. And the reason I did that happen was because I asked my professor, I said, hey, I need to do a rehearsal. And the reason I said that was because honestly, the Ruach was telling me you need to do a rehearsal. Because let me tell you this. Sometimes this is just how I roll. I'll just say, you know what? I think it's good enough. And then we realize that it's not good enough. We realize that we've overlooked a lot of things, and that just happens. That's part of human nature. But as that happens, we have to be disciplined to be able to look at things, to sit down. And yes, and I was forced for an hour and a half to sit down and read and look. Because many times I'll do 2 or 3 things at once, even in the background here. I'll be scheduling meetings and writing emails, even in the background here. And, you know, juggling things, right? And multitasking things, that's good up to a point. And the reality is that you really can't juggle or multitask much because you have to be able to concentrate on one singular task. I don't care how people say it. You may concentrate on that singular task for maybe 5-10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes, or an hour, but you have to concentrate on it, because if not, it'll just get messed up. And then you'll say, what was I doing? What was I thinking? Well, guess what? You're caught up. You know, when the scripture says what a double-minded man is, what, unstable in all his ways. Well, sometimes when you look at some things, some policies, when you look at even laws and tariffs and rules and regulations, that's a sign of chaos. And that's a sign that things are chaotic. I don't come on here just to say, oh, you know, I'm all about what's happening politically in this world. Actually, I'm not. I don't really care about the politics because I know that the reality is this. The Most High is still going to get the glory. That's it. No matter what they try to say, no matter how they try to present whatever they're presenting, it doesn't matter. Now, what does matter is how they will try to get us into their mess because, again, judgment is on them. See, when you have these real crazy looking, comic book villain type characters that look all sorts of crazy, look, those are those demons right there. And those demons are actually showing the principality, and that principality is this nation. Don't think that they do not want to act. Oh, they want to act on it so bad. Yes, they do. Delete a couple of us, delete a lot of us, and what? And get us back into submission. Because why? Because we've woken up, and when we've woken up, we've used our voice. And when we used our voice, we condemned their actions. Yeah, you realize the wicked just like it when you shut up and just let wickedness goes, right? Oh, don't say anything about Gaza. Don't say anything about, this or that. Don't. Why? Because here's the reality of this. You already knew a situation like Gaza was coming. You want to know why? Because think about how they treat us. And you don't think that they were not going to treat the rest of the world? I'm just going to tell you. Because I got a little bit of an understanding of how those mechanisms worked over there in the Middle East. Everybody's an actor. You can call it the Middle East. I'm going to call it what is actually more appropriate. Them Southern Grecians. Them Southern Grecians that were the mix of that Ptolemaic empire. It just makes things a lot more convenient because they don't want to travel all the way down to sub-Saharan Africa to go to Jerusalem. Are you kidding? They couldn't really hold it that long. If you realize and you looked at scripture, antiquity, they were only in Jerusalem for maybe 200-300 years at the most. That was their only footprint. Compared to the scale of time, that wasn't actually very long. And their political and economic and militaristic control wasn't that long either. Hey, you can visit, you can do this, you could do that. Well, let me do this. So let me try that. Right? It was a pinnacle. And when you go and you look at Maccabees, and when you look at all the intertestamental periods at that time, correct me if I'm wrong, it was maybe only 200 or 300 years. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then the final scattering happened with what? With Rome. With 70 AD. And then folks continue to scatter because why? Because as people would leave, then why would people want to stay? I'm just breaking this down to you. Pull out your words. You can let me know in the comment sections in the chat. Hey, Brother Karras, because I want to give you all really this explanation of when you see the Most High's word and when people flee, guess what? The moment we flee is the moment that what? Everybody else tries to flee. The moment we say we're up and out of here because there's greener pastures on the other side of the water and they're welcoming us home and they're providing for us and they have food, shelter, and all the necessities that we are continuing to see diminished in front of our eyes. Well, that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer when you have beef prices rocketing up. That's a no-brainer when now coffee is now being affected. I think the Most High got a really good night's sleep last night. Because I'm a coffee fiend for real. Yes. Yes, I am I have a substance addiction to coffee, to caffeine. I mean, honestly, yes and no. I mean, to be honest, I can shut it off. I can go weeks without running into Starbucks. I can go weeks without having caffeine in the system. But when I do that, I know and I understand that my body regulates or re-regulates because of the lack of caffeine. So therefore, when you lack something, you actually have to compensate with something very holistic. So during those days and that time that I don't have caffeine, I'm actually drinking a lot of water because technically speaking, water is a stimulant. It'll stimulate you as you drink. It'll stimulate you as you hydrate. So as you drink more and more and more water, guess what? That's going to start to flow you on up. And because you have to be stimulated, guess what it's going to start doing? You're going to start to burn more processes because it's oxygenation. I first learned that in boot camp over 25 years ago. Had to drink tons of water. Said, man, I'm tired, I'm sleepy, but I just can't fall asleep because I got all this water sitting on me. I got all this water sitting on my bladder. But I digress with the water. But going back to the name of the game, which is now being in famine. And famine, we didn't think of famine. We had that old school approach of, the Dust Bowl and right. People want to give you imagery of what they want to see things look like, not how things can be and what they consider famine. Famine of the word was the word empty field, and that empty field, there's no Bibles growing on the corn husks. There's no Bibles coming from off of the stalks of wheat. Famine of the word. The imagery that they have indoctrinated us with, you would think literally, oh, that's a famine. No, famine actually just means shortages. And now we're having and getting ready to go through, they already said it, we're getting ready to go through food shortages. And some places are going to experience it more than others. Not everybody's going to experience all the shortages all at once, because what? Because if you do, then people have to talk, and if people talk, then they have to admit there's a problem. And then they actually have to recognize what they're staring at. Because as they stare, they then have to understand what it is that they've been staring at. Now all of a sudden they're coming to the realization that this economy is garbage. Oh my goodness, they got lied to. Well, no, they knew that they were getting lied to. They just had to come to that knowledge and understanding that they could not indulge in that lie. Because now they were realizing that if they do not act, they will then be forced to lose their wealth, their money. Have you noticed that? It was the economy was rocking and rolling, and it's like, no, it's not. It's all fake. It's fake. But they wanted to choose to indulge in that, knowing full well that it was fake. We all knew that it was fake. We all understood it. And if you notice, they ran that story for the weekend because they wanted to kill it on Monday, right before the stocks open. Oh, it's fine. Everything's fine. Oh, don't worry that things in Russia. What's going on in Ukraine? I want to come here because I think that this makes a pretty poignant when people ask, well, why is Trump doing all this and why is Trump doing all that? You know, I do have to always question people's motives and things. And I do just chop it on up to the very fact that, honestly, people don't want to read the word. This is from King Chelsea Oog. He's stating morale of Ukraine troops on the front line has fallen below zero. American CNN publishes a report from Konstantinovka, which is being taken in pincers by Russian troops. The Ukrainian armed forces garrison that remains in the city is clearly not optimistic. And this is that's the city right there. Now, that's not the only city. You also have Pokrovsk, just a little bit more southeast or southwest of there. And you also have some more major areas. Because Putin has stated, supposedly he stated, I don't know. Reason I don't know, because I don't trust none of what these articles state. Because I don't speak Russian. So who knows what's being stated? Remember, if you didn't know, around the world, we don't actually get a voice. Did you all know that around the world, we don't get a voice? They actually speak for us. In 2019, when I was way before that, it's about 2016. Through about 2019, I was doing a lot of traveling, especially in the Middle East. And you know, the reality is they don't see us. And at that time, they saw more of them, and they would say, yeah, everything is fine in America. Everything is great. I was the one on over there just saying, no, it's not fine. It's not great. It's actually looking really bad because they are doing some things. I said, yeah, it's really bad. They couldn't understand it. They literally could not understand it, as the Most High is my witness. But on the movies, but your rap videos, I said, yeah, those are puppets. That's good when less than 1% of us are, getting puppeteered. Like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. And then years later, oh my goodness, Karis. You told us, Karis. You were saying this, Karis. And I have to laugh. And I said, no, look, I wasn't saying anything. I was just showing you what the word was showing you. Because it was always in front of your face. You just did not want to recognize it. And it's not their fault. I wasn't getting mad at them for that, because the reality is they didn't know. They were getting fed all these lies. And when you get fed all these lies, then all of a sudden, when the spigot turns off, because that's what's going on, the spigot is turning off. Because as the spigot's turning off, guess what? They don't have the money and the funds that they used to. So what is that doing? Now they're having a selective process. Because here's the reality of this. European nations really don't care what's going on in the United States. You want to know why? Because it doesn't affect them. And it hadn't affected them until Trump started seizing them up at the border. Until Trump started to mess them up with TSA. Until they had some issues with ICE and Customs and Border Patrol. Until they're being locked away in rooms for hours and even in some cases days. That's when they started to make a big to do because they were the ones now being uncomfortable. I told you that's how it works. And they know that's how it works. Don't make them uncomfortable. U.S. could require up to $15,000 bond for some tourist visas under pilot program. So pilot program, August 4th. This is from Ted Hansen and David Shepardson, or Hessen, David Shepardson. This is Reuters. And it says the U.S. could require bonds of up to $15,000 for some tourist and visa or business visas under pilot program launched in 2 weeks. A government notice said on Monday, an effort aims to crack down on visitors who overstay their visas. The program gives U.S. consular officers the discretion to impose bonds on visitors from countries with high rates of overstays, according to a Federal Register notice. Bonds could also be applied to people coming from countries where screening and vetting information is deemed insufficient. It said, so President Trump has made cracking down on legal immigration a focus of his presidency, boasting resources to secure the border and arresting people in the U.S. illegally. Now, there was something that was stated because of, here we go. I wanted to get down to here. The State Department was unable to estimate the number of visa applicants who could be affected by the change. Many of the countries targeted by Trump's travel ban also have high rates of visa overstays, including Chad, Eritrea, Haiti, Myanmar, and Yemen. And let me go down to here. This is the heart of the matter. They try to gloss it over, but here's the heart of the matter. Numerous countries in Africa, including Burundi, Djibouti, and Togo, also had high overstay rates, according to U.S. Custom and Border Protection data from fiscal year 2023. Understand who they're targeting. Why are they targeting them all of a sudden? Because the reality is this. Just like they wanted to have an African boycott, I don't even think that was even successful. The business boycott, I guarantee you it wasn't even successful. If it had been, there would have been posts and other things of that nature. That, to me, that was a big old fashioned CIA 3-letter agency drum up. And I don't think it did its job. If it had been its job, it would have been a lot more successful on social media. You would have seen a lot more of the TikToks, the YouTube shorts. I didn't see any of that. Why is this happening right now? Because plain and simple. You have to shut down the connection to the family. You have to shut down the connection to the continent. You have to shut down that's the power source. They already know we're getting ready to plug back into the power source. You don't see any of that nonsense with any type of Chinese and Japanese and Vietnamese. You don't see any of that nonsense with Arabs. Tell a Jordanian that they have to boycott their country of Jordan. Tell a Saudi. They look at you like you're crazy. You're out your mind. But when it comes to us, that's the acceptable language. Because why? Because we're their victuals. And if you have too many guests from your countries and your nations that had once come over here to do what? To continue to uphold and provide the framework and hope to patch the foundations, which are crumbling, of white supremacy, then they were all for it. They were all about it. And guess what? And they had unlimited dollars. Now what they're essentially trying to do, they're trying to limit travel to African nations. To African nations. To what? To come on over here. I wonder why. Maybe because, just my thought process, maybe because they would let the black folks here know that, hey, your brothers and sisters want you back home, or that we are opening up the land to you all so you can work the land and convert it to be a global force to be reckoned with, all of a sudden during African Union's 2025 year of justice? Have you noticed all that? It's no coincidence. It's not. Matter of fact, it's kind of hard to not see the framework of what's going on in the background because they really put it up in your face. It's just whether or not you're going to recognize what's happening to you. Oh, yeah. Why? Because One Piece, I'm going to tell you this, One Piece went into our story. They just couldn't really tell you that they're going into our story. That's a story for another day, Cynthia. That's a story for another day. Buccaneer. And if you understood the actual understanding of Buccaneers, believe it or not, Buccaneers were actually a lot of the African, Spanish, Brazilian pirates that were that was in these areas. Not all pirates were just after gold and booty and stuff like that. No, read the history. A lot of the pirates were trying to do what? Interrupt slave trade. Because a lot of the pirates, especially on those islands that were there, would target slave vessels. You better read that history. Do you ever think that they really want to tell you about how we used to fight against them? To the victor goes what? History. But here's the awesome thing about the Most High's word. Even though we were conquered as a people, guess what? Our conquering was supposed to happen. Because why? Because we're supposed to be enlightened to the nations. Because why? Because we were brought and scattered to the four corners of this earth to be a testimony not of us, but of him. Bingo, brother Minister Bingo. If the pirate captured slave ship, the slaves could join their crews. Yep. Yeah, that thing was so political that you knew that they were talking about the Most High, and you knew that they were talking about the Most High's people. On One Piece. Because it's not that you carry a name, but when you carry a bloodline. Anybody can steal a name. Do you get what I'm telling you? Anybody can steal a name, but you can't replace that bloodline. When they say there's power in the blood, they always say, well, that's Yahusha. There's power in the blood. Yes, there is. But you also want to know who they like to discredit in terms of power? They like to discredit us. Now, we have power, but our power isn't perfected unless we have it through Yahushua HaMashiach, because we lost that. You know, I was looking at something the other day. Do you know that around the 1900s, there was a massive amount of black churches that had burned in the United States? You want to know why they were burning black churches? Because our people were understood who we were. If this was about 120 years ago, our people, probably in the recesses of the home or other confined areas, would by and large understand that we were Israelites, that we were Hebrews, that we were Yahudim. This is not anything that's new. It's just the fact that they cannot stand how the Most High works, because this is a spiritual thing that they're dealing with. And because they can't control, did a really good job with the praise teams, the dance teams, the youth groups. And then they took it way too far, you know, having some places of worship, if you can call it that. They worship all right. They just don't worship the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Oh, they're worshiping Tammuz. They're worshiping Babylon. They're worshiping Mordek or Mordok, Raphan. Because what they always try to do to us, they always try to take things way too far. Well, this is how I think we could do it like this. You understand, they cannot understand us right now. And that's what scares them. That's what restricts visas. I can't get a read or a handle on these black folks. Entry denied, access denied. I can't get an understanding. They claim that they're Yahudim 1 minute. They know that they're from Africa, but then they claim that they're Native Americans the next, or foundational, or yeah. I can't get a read on them. Look, I actually think, to be quite honest, has anybody thought that maybe the Most High is causing a lot of confusion amongst our people? As, like, honestly, the best smokescreen ever. Think about this. If you're the oppressor and you're trying to figure out what's happening, and you're trying to understand what the Most High is doing, and you realize that now you're getting closer and closer and closer, because why? Because everything that you're doing is gearing towards, they're gonna confront Russia. They didn't want to confront Russia. That's the last thing that they ever wanted to do, but they're running out of money. They're running out of their Dagon. Remember, like I said a couple weeks ago, their Elohim is not prosperity. Their Elohim is to be in want of all things. And guess what we served? Their Elohim. And guess what we were doing? We were being in want of all things, because guess why? Because they have a poverty mindset. Their Elohim is an Elohim of poverty. They think that prosperity is in what? In their arm. That's Jeremiah chapter 10. That's their strength. That's what they believe. Cursed is that man. Cursed is that nation. And that's their curse. They're actually worshiping and have worshiped a curse, but they thought that that curse was a blessing because why? Because the Most High allowed them to do what they wanted to do, but all the while, as we read in Revelations chapter 18 yesterday, their sins went up to what? To heaven. Because why? It wasn't just us saying, Father, we need retribution, we need justice. It was also the other nations. But for our sake, and not just our sake, but the sake of our forefathers that entered into the covenant with him at Sinai, where this bloodline connects to, the Most High is moving. Because why? Because the other nations learned of Yahusha. So you can learn of something, but you may not necessarily know what it is that you're seeing. Oh, yeah, I learned about that last week. Well, do you know what it is? Nah, but I learned about it. That just gave you exposure. Do you see where I'm going? They were only able to get exposure. But they didn't know who Yahusha was. Yeah, I know. Thank you, family. YouTube is literally kicking folks out. I must have hit something. Thank you, family, for coming back in. I know YouTube was kicking folks out. Because you start to hit that nerve. This is what's going on. Look, this algorithm doesn't play. When I talk about history and things of that nature, this algorithm doesn't play. Because we were made to be powerless, and now we're understand we're powerful through who? Through the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. Because why? Because we know him. We don't just know of him. We haven't learned of him. We know him. Why? How do you know him? Because that blood of appropriation, that was the sacrifice. Remember, that blood was on what? Our children and our children's children. And as we have gone through that reckoning, because why? Because it was always attached to prophecy. Yes, we were going to go through the bad, and yes, we were going to have some good. But now, understand, the only thing that we can do at this time is just to sit here and see the salvation of our Elohim working miracles. We are the testimony. I don't know if you all realize this. We are actually the testimony. And as the testimony, what do you think we're testifying to? Father Yah, give us justice. We can't repay on this $40 trillion debt. Where do you think this thing's going to come from? Oh, they know where it's going to come from. And that's why they're so scared. That payment plan, that payment plan's not up for me. It's not up to me. That payment plan. There's nothing I can do about that. See, I was having a discussion a couple days ago. And people think that when you get conquered as a nation, that, you know, everything just ups and changes at the drop of a dime or drop of a hat. It doesn't. You know, the crazy thing is, I believe that in this time, I don't even think that people will even understand that they have literally been conquered. Oh, they don't want to hear that part. But what would that slavery look like? Look, you understand, in our captivity, a lot of people did not want to leave the plantation. You want to know why? They have fun and games. They'd have the little field days. And guess what they did? They made everything regular. Doesn't matter how bad the life was. As long as the routine is known, then people will fall into that routine. And then as they fall into that routine, then they'll be reinforced in that routine to say, hey, isn't this much better than the life you had? Hey, isn't this more fulfilling than the life you had? Hey, the last time you were just on TikTok and not doing anything productive. I think the last time you were just really enslaved. And here's the thing. Everybody's enslaved. I don't care if you recognize your slavery now or if you're going to be recognized you're enslaving in the future. These are just the stepping stones to that. Now, when you stare at something long enough, you're going to start to see how things are truly playing out. And yes, for them, they see how this is playing out. Who can you trust? What can you trust? When everything is lies, lies, and literally more lies. That's not fun for anybody. So with that, family, I do have to jump off here. I got to get ready to do something. You know, it's funny how the Most Highs work, and I'm like, Father, when are you going to release me to do what needs to be done? And it's just hilarious with everything that's going on. But I have to be humble. It's humility. Thank you all for your support. I appreciate it. I'm now back kind of in the doldrums a little bit because, you know, the prime time in the morning is usually about 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. And we'll see how that goes. Thank you all again for your support. It does go a long way. I want to continue to teach as the Most High has me teach. Or until, you know, AI takes over and they want to then shape this narrative. Hello, I'm Brother Karras from Covenant Awakenings. I have to tell you something a little different. Me seeing my face and having those little 8-second little time lapses and facial expressions and things of that nature. You will love your land of your captivity. You will understand. Oh my goodness. The robot. Listen, the robot got me, family. All righty. But yeah, I have to get on out of here. Got to get going. This is usually my cutoff. I know for folks that had just recently got to this channel during the summer, I got to get back. I'm back in Babylon. Honestly, I don't even know how long I'm going to be back in Babylon. That's the funny thing. I really don't know. But yeah, just keep me up in prayer. I am going to be doing my NeoDiplomacy for those that are interested in the cohort. That's why I said I really don't know how long I'll be doing this thing. A lot of stuff is moving. And the way that this happens, the Most High has me move in his timing. But every time that we move in his timing, you have to be ready for that. So my charge has been to train our people to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent in high-level areas. There has been a fundamental lacking in that. And that's just because of the fact that a lot of those State Department jobs really aren't for us. And I would go on out there and challenge you all to see how many ambassadors right now, U.S. ambassadors to different countries right now, how many of them are African American, Black? And I would argue that you probably have less than a handful, if that. Especially in this administration. So understand that that has not been something that they wanted to ever impart on us. So you can visit neodiplomacy.com. Things are definitely moving in the right direction. And the class that's going to start will start September 14th. And you can have the summer rate until August 31st. At August 31st, I have to raise it to my fall rate. So you can check that out at neodiplomacy.com. With that, I got to get up on out of here, family. You all be blessed. Most High willing, I'll be back on tomorrow. And with that, shalom, everyone.